Namaskar. Now we are going to study about the regional development strategies. Regional development in geography refers to the expanding process of the human economic activities in the regional space. Competition among cities for mobile capital in the 21st century has intensified. Urban hierarchy of a region is undergoing transformation where economic fortunes vary markedly among different localities. Regional development is the provision of aid and other assistance to regions which are less economically developed. Regional development may be domestic or international in nature. The implications and scope of regional development may therefore vary in accordance with the definition of a region and how the region and its boundaries are perceived internally and externally. Most of the countries of the world are facing with the problem of regional imbalances and regional inequalities, but it assumes a more acute and explosive form in the developing countries. The problem is assumed such a magnitude that their very political and economic stability is threatened. It is imperative that appropriate strategies are to be adopted so that the goal of balanced regional development can be achieved in the coming decades in India. Development is a multidimensional process. It stands for transformation of society. It indicates qualitative, multifaceted, balanced change. Of late, retaining environmental quality and ecological balance are considered as the basic objectives of regional development. The strategies include a spatial strategy, organization and management, and an institutional framework with financial resources, legislative competence and administrative authority on the lines of the Model Town and Country Planning Act in 1960. Diagnosis of the spatial process and creating a macro framework with due recognition of areal differentiation constitute the preliminary exercise in this regard. Hence, in this episode, the following aspects are going to be seen: strategy for agricultural development, strategy for increasing food production, strategy for industrial development, strategy for human resources development, strategy for rural development and strategy for urban development. The first aspect is strategy for agricultural development. Agriculture sector is changing the socio-economic environments of the population due to liberalization and globalization. About 75% people are living in rural areas and are still dependent on agriculture. About 43% of India's geographical area is used for agricultural activity. Agriculture continues to play a major role in Indian economy. That the post-independence period marks a turning point in the history of Indian agriculture is clear from the fact that compared with a rate of growth of less than 0.5% annum during 1904 to 1945, the agriculture sector recorded an annual growth rate of 2.7% during 1949 to 1984. This growth has been achieved as a result of high priority accorded to agriculture. The policy makers adopted a two-fold strategy for regenerating agriculture immediately after independence. The first element of this strategy was to implement land reforms in order to remove institutional bottlenecks, and the second element was to undertake massive investment in irrigation and other infrastructure in order to update the existing agricultural technology. The strategy adopted for rice cultivation should also hold good for other crops. To achieve this, liberal provision for irrigation, supply of better seeds, fertilizers and pesticides, chemicals, equipments, provision for maintenance of agricultural machinery and equipments be made in depressed regions. If possible, free or heavily subsidized to marginal or sub-marginal farmers. Provision is made for well-equipped storehouses and direct access to regulated markets. The National Bank for Rural Development will provide necessary loans and the cooperative societies can be improved to serve the best interest of the farmer. The core areas of the major crops and the infrastructure facilities available could be identified. The steps to be taken for further development of these regions are intensive cultivation, increase in production supported by attractive prices, and side by side steps should be taken to develop animal husbandry to improve the livestock resources and make the farmers fully engaged in gainful employment throughout the year. For instance, gobar gas can be profitably exploited by pooling the cow dung and such other waste materials to develop farmyard manure in a very efficient manner, and this could be tried through the village panchayats. Model farms can be started with the help of the rural unemployment youth at the panchayat level, as also in urban areas to grow flowers and vegetables in municipal sewage farms. Programs can be scheduled in a better way to involve the youth in rural development programs on a large scale during the weekends and holidays. Work experience must be made compulsory before university degrees are awarded. Youth can be take up adult education, family welfare, medical aid and such other fields of social work during period of academic year. The following strategy is recommended. The first one is facilities and provision for supply of inputs in kind in return for levy after harvest. The second strategy is minimum cash transaction in the credit facilities offered. The third strategy is creation of storage and warehousing facilities as a part of cooperatives. The fourth strategy is more soil and water testing laboratories. The fifth strategy is one major soil and water testing laboratories in each village of 1000 families. The sixth strategy is information bureau at taluk level library. The seventh strategy is television exhibition, handouts and demonstration units be provided. The eighth strategy is extension service and training facilities be provided. The ninth strategy is land use survey, cropping pattern and success stories of part of innovation and diffusion, and the 10th strategy is self-help and rural youth club be started. The second aspect is strategy for increasing food production. A realistic plan is necessary if the food requirements as well as the nutritional standards are to be maintained in India. The central government as its levy policy and adequate stocks are maintained by the government and distribution through fair price depots in undertaken in all the taluks of the state. Thus, an estimate of supply and demand should be made and a fair support price to the farmers be given for their produce. In order to increase agricultural production, land development and soil conservation work be taken up. Out of an estimated 5.5 million hectares, nearly 50% of the land has been brought under contour bunding and the remaining work requires at least another 8 to 10 years. At the present rate of 0.10 million samples a year, the work cannot be completed in 10 years. The work speeded up, fertilizer production will have to be increased from 0.37 million tons to 0.95 million tons. More than 50% of the cropped land in India will have to be guarded from pests and crop diseases, and the advanced technology should reach the farmers in the rural inaccessible fields with the help of a very efficient and devoted extension staff. Unemployed graduates may be employed in this field after a brief training. It is better to convert 50% of the existing rural higher secondary schools into agriculture schools, so that the educational efforts are geared up to the requirements of the rural communities. Supply of inputs will have to be streamlined through farmer service, societies and consumer cooperatives and fair price depot. The agro-industry corporation should decentralize its activity and reach all the villages with the help of teams of extension staff. Dry farming has to be popularized in view of the fact that more than 60% of the crop land in India depends on the monsoon and assumed rainfall in scanty. Dairy farming should be encouraged further in the dry farming zones. There are a number of irrigation projects and hill stations in India where model horticulture farms can be established by the command area and hill area developed authorities. Similarly, rose, lilies, jasmine and variety of flowers can be raised and popularized on commercial lines. A well coordinated integrated farming practice give full employment to the rural families and this can check migration. The third aspect is strategy for industrial development. Cooperative strategies in regional integration based on trade and international investment flows have turned out to be very important for the sustainability of region-wide development. The famous analogy between flying pattern of wild cheese and empirical observation on the formation of regional industrialization in Asia. The flying cheese pattern of development involves a process of regional integration through which industries in advanced countries are adapted in less advanced countries, creating an international division of labor that resembles the cooperative independence implicit in inverse V pattern of flying cheese. The key goal of industrial development strategy is the creation of a reliable framework of activity for the efficient market players and the adjustment of those areas where market is not sufficient enough. Since business and industry are the main creators of economic welfare, an industrial development strategy specifies such principles of activity that will allow them to operate most efficiently. Among the said principles of special importance are reduction of administrative regulation, attention of the state to scientific research and investments thereof, increase of the competence of people, creation of business services and industrial infrastructure, that is the state support to such areas. Where undertakings themselves frequently fail to do this. The government's policy in this document is based on the principles of creation of the single market by creating the same conditions for competition, eliminating barriers and stimulating innovations. Such principles are declared in a number of parts of the strategy and are reflected in the measure for the improvement of the general business environment. This industrial development strategy is being prepared by evaluating a good number of measures for increasing competitiveness. The orientation of Lithuania's industry towards the presented guidelines and formulated principles will be quite a challenge to undertakings and the government. With the increase of the competition and with the opening of new business opportunities, it will be necessary to redistribute the responsibilities that have been traditionally attributed to the state administration so far. Undertakings will contribute still more to the adoption of state decisions, standardization, certifications and market surveillance. This strategy for industrial development is strictly in compliance with the principles of spatial planning for industrial development. These are based on the potentialities of the region. The fourth aspect is strategy for human resources development. In a region where a large rural illiterate population lies, it is extremely difficult to organize and develop human resources. No other country in the world except perhaps China has a more stupendous problem of organizing a huge population mass in the age group of 5 years to 22 years. In India, it comes almost 46% of the total, and to take the country to 21st century is a gigantic task before the governments, both the central and the state. To achieve this, the national education policy has been launched. India has to get rid of the shackles of traditional dogmatic caste and creed based social, political and cultural development. It should develop a more rational, scientific and technologically sound development path to step into 21st century. We should not leave 50% of the people in rural areas behind in our anxiety to take the 20% of urban dwellers to the 21st century. It is worth considering the pitfalls in the present educational system and to ponder whether the present educational system has really failed. Education plays an integral part in the overall development of the personality. The government has come up with unique steps to make primary education compulsory for all. In simple words, elementary education implies 8 years to compulsory schooling that begins from the age of 6. The government ensures to make elementary education free and compulsory for all. After the inception of district primary education program in 1994, the government came up with the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyana in 2001 so as to bring in an improvement in the elementary education system. Lowering the poverty ratio, promoting female literacy and emphasizing on rural education will help to fulfill their desired goal. For optimum management control, the government has also joined hands with the school management committees, tribal autonomous councils, mother teacher association as well as the village and urban slum level education committees. The Sarva Shiksha Abhiyana aims at improving the ratio of teachers to students, emphasize more on teachers training, provide learning materials for teachers and textbooks for children as well as make every possible effort for their academic support. In addition, the government has also introduced compulsory elementary education exclusively for girls. For instance, the Kasturiba Gandhi Shiksha Yojana aims to come up with residential schools in districts for girls. Institutes such as National Bal Bhavan help students pursue their desired activities and improve their creative ability in the process. Besides, there are the other programs like midday meal scheme to help allure an increasing number of children towards literacy. Once the human resources are properly managed, it will help the other aspects of resources development including improvement of livestock, conservation of wildlife, natural vegetation, etc. The fifth aspect is strategy for rural development. The various strategies and programs undertaken for the purpose of rural development in India. The rural economy as much as urban economy is an integrated part of the overall Indian economy. Any talk of overall development without rural development, particularly in a country where 3/4 of people below the poverty line reside in rural areas, is flawed. Poverty is indeed a global issue. Its eradication is considered integral to humanity's quest for sustainable development. Reduction of poverty in India is therefore a vital for the attainment of international goals. An integrated rural development strategy should take into consideration the first one is the strong economic base and the second one is the quality of life and third is the quality of physical environment. A strong economic base necessarily includes modern scientific farming and development of any one and more of the allied activities like fisheries, lumbering, horticulture, quarrying and livestock rearing to supplement agricultural activities and bring in some additional income. Biogas plants, windmills, processing of plant and animal waste and scientific hobbies will make rural life more attractive. The quality of life can be improved by the adoption of rural development programs starting with new layouts, proper drainage and scientific land use planning and protected water supply. Development of rural roads, electricity and organization of the rural market through skillful means will contribute towards better living in the countryside. In addition to agriculture, skills and trades can be developed further by training artisans, providing them raw materials and organizing the sales of the craft materials. This will invigorate the economic life of the rural people. Also, the objective of improving the quality of the environment depending on proper use of the available land, water and natural resources can be achieved. A utility complex in every village as a part of rural reconstruction is advisable. Facilities can be improved at the grassroots level in order to make the country more attractive to both young and old. By suitable strategies, the retired people from big cities could be attracted to the villages and their experience in various fields of activities could be profitably utilized in the rural areas without incurring much overhead costs. Such model villages can be started at a panchayat level. A definite slant can be given to develop rural areas under integrated rural development areas and a pilot scheme to suit rural requirements. There are several programs launched for developing rural areas. Some of the programs are discussed here. Integrated Rural Development Program. Integrated Rural Development Program introduced in 1978 to 1979. It provided assistance to rural poor in the form of subsidy and bank credit for productive employment opportunities through successive plan periods. Subsequently, training of rural youth for self-employment, development of women and children in rural areas, supply of improved tool kits to rural artisans and Ganga Kalyana Yojana were introduced as sub-programs of Integrated Rural Development Program to take care of the specific need of the rural population. The second one is Wage Employment Program. Important components of the anti-poverty strategy Wage Employment Program have sought to achieve multiple objectives. They not only provide employment opportunities during lean agriculture seasons but also in times of floods, drought and other natural calamities. They create rural infrastructure which supports further economic activity. These programs also put an upward pressure on market wage rates by attracting people to public works programs, thereby reducing labor supply and pushing up demand for labor. It encompasses National Rural Employment Program and Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program, which were initially part of the 6th and 7th 5-year plans. Employment Assurance Scheme. It was launched in October 1993, covering 1778 drought-prone desert, tribal and hill area blocks. It was later extended to all the blocks in 1997 to 98. It was designed to provide employment in the form of manual work in the lean agricultural season. The works taken up under the program were expected to lead to the creation of durable economics and social infrastructure and addresses the felt needs of the people. Food for Work Program. The Food for Work Program was started in 2000 as a component of the Employment Assurance Scheme in 8 notified drought affected states of Chandigarh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Uttaranchal. The program aims at food provision through wage employment. Food grains are supplied to states free of cost. However, lifting of food grains for the scheme for Food Corporation of India go down has been slow. Rural housing. It initiated in 1985-86. The core program for providing free housing to families in rural areas and targets scheduled caste or scheduled tribes households and freed bonded laborers. The rural housing program has certainly enabled many BPL families to acquire pucca houses. The coverage of the beneficiaries is limited given the resources constraints. The Samagra Awas Yojana was taken up in 25 blocks to ensure convergence of housing, provision of safe drinking water, sanitation and common drainage facilities. The Housing and Urban Development Corporation has extended its activities to the rural areas, providing loans at a concessional rate of interest to economically weaker section and low income group households for construction of houses. The sixth aspect is strategy for urban development. Cities are probably the most complex things that human beings have ever created. They are the wellsprings of culture, technology, wealth and power. People have a love-hate relationship with cities. We are torn between our needs for community and privacy and the conflicting attraction of urban and rural life. Urban development can be defined as the design and regulation of the uses of space that focus on the physical form, economic functions and social impacts of the urban environment and on the location of different activities within it. Sustainable development refers to utilizing the present resources, keeping in mind the future needs of the society so as not to exhaust the resources. It should not disturb the ecological cycle and hence preserve the environment. It has revised the urban local body structure, functional devolution, executive system finances and the related aspect of delivery of services and suggested a number of measures to strengthen urban local bodies. The government has accepted a large number of its recommendations of the Administrative Commission report. A National Commission of Urbanization was set up in late 1980s and it brought a report in 1988. Since National Commission of Urbanization report in over 2 decades old, Administrative Commission report recommended setting up of National Commission of Urbanization too, and government has also accepted these recommendations. As per population projection in 2026, level of urbanization will be different in various states. In terms of urban population distribution in 2026, India will be mainly dominated by 11 states identified as first group and 11 mega cities. India's future urban strategy should recognize these differences and plan accordingly. The World Development Report 2009's main message is that economic growth will be unbalanced, but development can still be inclusive, and it also suggests a policy framework to benefit from urbanization. Key consideration or themes for urban strategy in India should be: constitutional amendments are required to achieve objectives of urban decentralization. Different approach of supporting reform linked investments needed for different states based on level of urbanization. Focus of investments should be on asset creation as well as management. Continue focus on public urban transport and integrate urban transport with land use planning. Intergovernment transfer should have built incentives to improve performance. Integrate various urban development and related programs at local, state and national level to develop sustainable city or metropolitan regions. Strengthen urban institutions and clarify roles of different organizations. Capable building should be an important component of the program. Second generation of urban reform should further focus on regulation, innovative financing and public-private partnership and climate change innovatives. Lastly, I concluded about this topic by saying great progress has been made in developing a framework for reform linked investment in urban and rural infrastructure. As per population projection in 2026, level of urbanization will be different in various states. India's future regional development strategy should recognize these differences and plan accordingly. To improve regional governance and delivery of services, there should be constitutional amendments as well as administrative actions. Most importantly, intergovernment transfers should have built-in incentives to improve performance, and capacity building should be an important component of the future regional program.